Welcome to the regular meeting of the El Centro City Council for Tuesday, August 2nd. First, we'll do roll call, please.
Councilmember Edney?
Present.
Councilmember Villegas-Walker?
Here.
Mayor Silva?
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Sanders?
Here.
And Councilmember Solomon?
Here.
Please join Ms. Sanders in both the pledge and the invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Heavenly Father, as we come this evening, we come with our heads bowed and our hearts are humbled. We come seeking Thy divine guidance as we deliberate the issues that are important for the members of this community. We ask that you would intervene on any areas that the council is struggling as it makes its decision, and then provide your divine guidance. Lord, we also ask a special blessing on those on the battlefield. We ask that you would throw your arms of protection around them, and then touch those families with your hand of mercy for those who have paid the ultimate price. These and all blessings we ask in thy Son's name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Ms. Sanders. We'll have a report from the city attorney on closed session.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the council did recess to closed session at 12:04 p.m. Council members Sanders and Solomon were absent throughout the entire proceeding. With regard to the pending litigation listed on the Nolte case, the report was heard with outside counsel. There's no action to report, although direction was given to staff. With regard to Casseron Arch Insurance case, report was given to council, no action to report with regard to that. Direction was given to staff with regard to that item. With regard to the real property acquisitions at 1150 North Imperial Avenue, and with regard to APN 044-230-09, the city met with its real property negotiators and gave direction with regard to both items. There's no action to report. With regard to labor negotiations, the council met with its labor negotiators regarding the Teamsters, and I believe there's an MOU to be approved in open session with regard to the Teamsters. You may act on that at a later time. With regard to the Secretary of City Council, I'm not sure. There was a resolution presented, and I guess the council will decide if they're ready to take action on that or not.
Okay.
With regard to the city attorney contract, that item would be the council would reconvene to consider that item after the open session agenda in closed session.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Hernandez.
That concludes my report.
Thank you. This is a public meeting. If there's an item on the agenda in which you wish to be heard, please complete a speaker slip and submit it to the city clerk prior to the start of the meeting. When the item is announced and your name is called by the mayor, please come forward to the microphone, address yourself to the council, stating your name and address for the record. Unless the mayor extends the time, there is a 3-minute time limit for each public presentation. If you wish to address the council on any subject matter within the council's jurisdiction that is not listed on the agenda, you may do so during the public comment portion of the agenda. We have our scheduled public comments, and now we will have our monthly report from the El Centro Chamber of Commerce.
Good evening to everyone on this beautiful Imperial Valley night, isn't it? Oh, first I wanted to just report on the Joint Land Use Forum, of course hosted by the Joint Chamber of Commerce, held at IBC. I think it was an excellent opportunity for the community to get together and discuss some of the unique challenges we have in our valley in regards to development and how we can all work together to grow the valley while still being compatible with different industries and our current Navy base that's here. And I do want to mention that the attendees had an opportunity to learn more about the unique needs of the NAF, and we're reminded of the importance of NAF to our valley, our nation, of course, but both for their ability to perform unique training situations down here, and of course, the reminder of the importance of the economic stimulus to the valley. I think we too often forget about that. There was about 80 attendees, and it was really a diverse group, and I found it very educational myself, so I hope everyone else did as well. Most importantly, I think it brought home the importance of completing the joint land use study. And speaking of that, I'm happy to report, which I'm sure you all know, the County Board of Supervisors voted this morning to begin the study process. So we're really happy about that. And speaking of land, I did want to thank you guys for facilitating a meeting with some of our chamber members who are developers and going forward with some current developments. Thank you very much for making that possible, kind of at the last minute, so well needed and good job. We had a great mixer at the Imperial Valley Press, great crowd, great host, thank you. And our board of directors would like me to mention they are still very interested in seeing the city adopt indexing for the prevailing wage policy. And they wanted to inquire when it would be possible maybe for that to be brought back to the council for discussion. So that's kind of a question. Upcoming events. On August 17th, we're going to meet, some chamber representatives are going to meet with some city staff, and we're going to discuss ways we can all work together to improve permitting processes in the city. So thank you for making that happen, especially Mr. Mayor. Of course, your Rain on Main is the next Thursday, of course, and we want to thank the City Council for continuing to do fun events such as that. And our next event will be a chamber co-op mixer, which, if some of you out there don't know, it's a great opportunity for smaller businesses to come together. We have a lot of different businesses. That'll be over at the PAL. So we hope to see you there. And until my next report, here's to good business.
Thank you. The task force that looked at the prevailing wage, that was Mr. Edney and Ms. Sanders?
That's correct.
We have a request from the chamber to look at the issue of indexing. Is there
If you will recall, Mr. Mayor, we reported out several meetings ago on that issue. We took all the indices that the chamber had identified for us that they wanted us to look at, and we found that there'd been no change. And so we are, if you recall, we just said we would revisit this again next year.
I believe that was in one of your May meetings.
Yes, it was. And we did look at that, and we found there had not been, the change was 0.5 above. So the one index, and the others was nothing, no change whatsoever. And the other indices, I should say. If Mr. Edney would choose to add additional information.
I think the report was made to the council, and I think it was June, wasn't it?
It was June.
First meeting in June?
It could have been.
Second, wherever it was, we can go back and look at it. But I concur, that was the recommendation from the task force, that at this point, we would just review it on an annual basis.
Great. Thank you.
Could I ask a clarifying question? The meeting that's going to be planned with regard to streamlining the permitting, is that coming specifically out of the roundtable discussion and summary? Because we want to make sure, of
Right.
course, to be moving forward and
We-
acting on the recommendations.
We'll be addressing the issues that are being presented by the chamber, yes. That's part of the
Outstanding.
discussion.
Okay.
Any other questions?
And reporting back then?
Yes.
Excellent.
Any other questions for the chamber or anybody else? Okay, let's move to the consent agenda. We have items 2 through 7. Any requests from the council to pull items for discussion?
I'd like to pull 5. I'd like to pull 6 for clarification.
Okay, so we have a motion, is there a motion to approve items 2, 3, 4, and 7, please?
So moved.
Moved by Walker, second by Sullivan, please ballot.
Diane, this isn't.
Thank you. Okay. Sorry.
She's out of practice.
The motion carries 5-0.
Okay, thank you. Let's go ahead and deal with item number 5, Ms. Walker.
With regard to item number 5, there seemed to be a lot of pieces that had to come together at kind of the last moment here, and I just wanted staff or the city attorney to amplify as to their comfort level with us moving forward as presented with this agenda. Either or both?
As of 4:30 today, we did receive all the bond documents and everything signed, wet signed, so it's ready to go.
So your office is satisfied, city attorney's office is satisfied?
If the subdivision, if the bonds are the same as the language that we approved yesterday, and I'm just looking at them right now, but if the language is the same as what we approved yesterday, then we're fine moving forward. I just need to look at the
Okay,
bonds
so
real
pending
quickly.
that clarification, can we go on just quickly to item number 6? I think that we were provided with an amended summary of that we were provided with a new amendment to the lease agreement, and it should amplify with regard to the term and the payment. In particular, the increases for the lease payments. And so, if I could, I'd move for approval of the revised amendment to the agreement, item number 6.
Second.
Moved by Walker and second by Sanders, please ballot.
The motion carries 5-0.
We'll come back to number 5 shortly. Is the council ready to act on the 2 resolutions that we discussed in closed session? Resolution of the City Council of the City of El Centro establishing terms and conditions of employment, including compensation for fiscal year 11 through 13 for Teamsters Local Number 542.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Edney, second by Walker. What resolution number is that then?
I believe 118.
118?
Holy smokes.
And Mr. Mayor, because I was absent from the closed session discussion, I will be abstaining from this item.
Okay. Okay. Please ballot.
What was that?
Is that a,
I
where's?
saw a red come up.
Oh, okay, well, then let me try again, please. Is that,
Is it not?
it's not showing in mine.
I have 3
Okay.
and 2 abstentions.
Okay, thank you.
3. Motion
And
passes.
Resolution 119, resolution of the City Council of the City of El Centro establishing the compensation for the secretary to the City Council.
So moved.
Moved by Edney, second by Walker. Please ballot.
And likewise on this issue, Mr. Mayor, I was not a participant in the discussion, so I will be abstaining.
Thank you.
Do you want to,
Let's try it.
you want to try it? That option, yours off. Yours isn't working? Okay. Motion carries 3 with 2 abstentions.
Yeah, thank you. And are you ready to provide some opinion on the item number 5? Ms. Beck?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I've had an opportunity to review the bond documents. There's a performance bond, a payment bond, a fair share bond, and a monumentation bond, and they're all acceptable as to form.
Okay, thank you for that.
With that representation, I'll move to approve item number 5.
Second? Oh, sorry.
Moved by Walker, second by Sanders. Please ballot.
Motion carries 5-0.
All right, moving right along. Item number 8, public hearing to consider conditional use permit number 1102, which would allow the construction of a 65-foot wireless telecommunications monopole tower designed as an artificial palm tree on property located at 2015 Cottonwood Circle in the CT Tourist Commercial Zone pursuant to Section 15303 of the California Environmental Quality Act guidelines. It has been determined that the project is exempt from formal environmental review. We have a presentation by our Director of Planning and Zoning.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of the council. The project before you is a request for a conditional use permit, as was mentioned, to allow the construction of a wireless telecommunication tower designed as an artificial palm tree that will be mounted with 12 antennas. The location of the site is known as 2015 Cottonwood Circle, right here. And it's a 1.24 acre site located along Cottonwood Drive. This is an area of the site. As you can see, Imperial Avenue is to the east. Again, Cottonwood Circle, Cottonwood Drive. To the west, there's a hotel to the north, and this is, right now it's an RV park. The project, the tower will be located on the southwest corner of the property around this area. And right now, there are 27 RV parking spaces. Now, when the tower is completed, it would eliminate 2 RV parking spaces. Access to the site would be along Cottonwood Drive. In regards to zoning, as you can see, the project site is surrounded by the tourist commercial zone. This is a site plan of the proposed project. This is where the tower will be located. It's going to be approximately 1,000 square feet. And again, the access to the site would be along a 24-foot driveway along Cottonwood Drive. This is just a site plan of the, again, the monopole. There's going to be a block wall that would enclose the equipment room for the monopole tower. And there's access to the site. The site will probably be serviced about once a month, so there's not going to be constant traffic to the project site. This is a photo simulation of the project. Again, as you can see, it's going to be 65 feet tall, which is the allowable height within the tourist commercial area. And this is going to be a block wall that's going to enclose the equipment for the tower.
Ms.
This-
Piacania, in that regard, who will be responsible for graffiti cleanup on that block wall?
The project applicant.
Okay. We have them on speed dial?
Yes, in fact, a representative is here from the project. Again, this is another photo simulation of the project. And this is looking from Imperial Avenue going towards the interstate. Again, this is what would probably look like. And this is coming from the interstate towards the west. And this is just an example of what a Mexican fan palm tower would look like. In regards to environmental review, the project is exempt from further environmental review. In regards to the conditions of the project, those are found at the back of your staff report. And the conditions are basically that the project has to be maintained by the applicant. The landscaping that is being removed has to be redone. In other words, it cannot be eliminated. There's also going to be the requirement to have 1 parking space for the maintenance personnel that's going to be coming in once a month. And the other conditions are just the grading and drainage and so forth, requirements to meet the Air Pollution Control District's regulations and so forth. At this time, we are recommending that the public hearing be opened and that conditional use permit be approved as recommended.
Thank you, Ms. Vicania. Any initial questions for staff? Mr. Edney?
See, I want to go back to Ms. Walker's question. She asked who was going to be responsible for graffiti cleanup, and you said the applicant. but the applicant is not the owner of the hotel. The applicant is the mobile provider. So
Right.
can we clarify that? And I would recommend to my council colleagues that we make the property owner responsible and let him deal with his tenant. Because the property owner runs the hotel there, correct?
Correct.
They're going to be there every day, or a representative of the owner.
That's correct.
Us trying to find Mobileye LLC in Newport Beach and get them to come is not going to be, I think, on speed dial or speed fix. So if we can modify that condition to say that the property owner will be responsible for the cleanup of any graffiti, and then he can, through his lease agreement with Mobileye, figure out if he's going to be reimbursed. Does that make sense?
That makes sense, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
My second question, and I suppose I don't care in the grandest scheme, but why would we require a maintenance man who's going to visit once a month have a set-aside parking space? If you have the air conditioning man, we don't require you to set aside a parking space. If you have the stove guy, if you have the delivery driver, that just seems, why are we putting that burden on that? What is the necessity of a guy coming in once a month having a set-aside designated parking space?
That's within our ordinance, and this is a conditional use permit. If the council wishes, we can eliminate that condition. I see your point, but basically, we're just following the requirements of the parking ordinance.
And I think if he was there with more regularity, if he was there having to be there every day on site, it would certainly make a lot of sense.
It makes sense, yes.
But in this instance, where we're looking at probably one time a month, then perhaps we could eliminate that as well.
But it doesn't say that it has to be a dedicated, I mean, it's not for exclusive use of the maintenance individual, they just have to provide one off-street parking.
Yeah, the
right?
condition just reads that one off-street parking shall be provided. We want to make sure, again, following our ordinance, that the parking is done within site, not off-street, not within the street, so.
Okay, Ms. Vega, the mayor brings up an excellent point. Can we determine accurately whether it's designated for this particular vehicle, for this particular issue, or I assume the hotel has a significant amount of off-street parking, thus would one of those be available? Are we getting to the point where as long as he parks his vehicle when he comes to do the maintenance off-site, as opposed to there has to be a sign on it saying for... That's
We
what I
just
meant.
want to make sure that right now, there's an RV park, that the parking spaces for the RV residents are not taken by this use. So if there are more than adequate spaces within the RV park, there shouldn't be a
Okay.
problem.
So then I'm okay with it. Then that's basically saying to the owner and the leasee that whenever that vehicle comes, he's somewhere got to find a place to park off the street.
Off the street.
Okay, fine. Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Mayor.
you. I had the same issue, I think we all did, as my first thought was graffiti, and the potential of graffiti on that wall. And I thought we could modify condition number 14 to be specific as it relates to graffiti removal. But I think, who we hold accountable for the removal of that, and also what consequences will there be if either the applicant or the property owner doesn't comply with this.
The condition can be amendment to include that the property owner would be responsible for, but this CUP is not,
It doesn't go
it's not
that.
for the property owner.
No, it's not.
Right.
It's not for the
Right.
property.
The
owner.
issue
So
of
how do we
graffiti
draw
on
that
any
nexus?
property ultimately relies to the property owner, and that's where our code enforcement officer cites the property owner. And so, and let's take any one of those walls you're looking at in this picture. It is the property owner's responsibility ultimately, and that's who the citation would go against, should they not cover their deal with their graffiti or other types of code enforcement. It always goes to the property owner.
But what leverage do we have?
Well, we've cite, building department to their graffiti officer, we'll cite them and we'll do the administrative process. I think you saw those little yellow sheets that We talked about it at a bid meeting. Those are the citation warnings that come out, and they can go all the way to your building appeals board with a citation up to $1,200 citation. I mean, it can go, that's how far as it can go. It can go all the way into a code enforcement process. But it always goes to the property owner, am I correct?
That's done.
Let me hear that again, please. We're going to put a condition in that the property owner would be no. It's going to stay
Property owner's not
with
assigned
the
yet.
applicant.
I think what Mr. Duran mentioned is that the property owner is
Already.
ultimately the responsible person. So if code enforcement was to issue a warning or citation, it would go to the property owner.
Yes.
That's,
The CUP you have before you, the property owner is not signing on to the
No, he's
CUP.
not. So
This is their tenant who has
Well,
requested
in
this.
effect, what we've done is you've got a double whammy, because you've got a CUP says that the tenants are, the leasee is responsible for it, right?
Actually,
Of
the way.
keeping it clean, the
keep-
applicant.
Yeah, keeping the.
That's the leasee.
Right.
And our code enforcement makes the owner responsible. So
Yes.
in fact, we have a better arrangement in this situation because we have both of them.
Because should they not maintain it, you can also have the option of canceling the conditional use permit.
Yeah, okay, I think you're covered.
If he
okay.
doesn't maintain-
Before,
This
let
is
me,
awfully
let me just open the
convoluted.
public hearing so that we can take care of that. Any member of the public that wishes to provide testimony on this matter? Okay, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Ms. Walker?
I just had one question. Given the proximity to the hospital, and we know that the hospital has made major investments in infrastructure improvements with regard to internal communication within the hospital, have we ever had any issues with an antenna of this size in this proximity to a hospital where it interferes at all with telecommunications inside the building? No.
Okay, any other questions? Mr. Solomon?
Can you go back to the picture that had kind of like yeah, right there. Now, in this narrative, it says that there are 4 self-contained units. Each unit can operate the facility. That's what it says in the narrative. So my question is, if there are 4 units, how many units does T-Mobile have?
I'll refer that to the applicant. I know they're working with T-Mobile's working with AT&T with this project.
Could you refer me to the council?
Can you come to the microphone, please?
I think you may want to open the public hearing at this point.
I did already. Yeah,
You
oh,
closed
okay.
it.
Okay, I'm going to reopen the public hearing.
We need some additional testimony.
Good evening, Austin Cheng, on behalf of the applicant, Mobility. You need my address as well?
Yes, please.
3378.
Pardon?
3378 Daily Center Drive, Unit 2002, San Diego, California, 92123.
I think, can you restate the question, Mr. Solomon?
Yeah, in the narrative here, it says that there are 4 self-contained units. So I'm assuming that up there at the top, there are 4 different units up there, and it says here that each unit can operate the facility. So if there's 4 up there, does T-Mobile have all 4? That's how it operates? Or are there, T-Mobile takes one of those units and there's 3 others that are left up there?
The units that you're referring to are actually, they're different panels of antennas. Each of the 4 units have 3 different panels on it, and it's actually, T-Mobile's going to be using all of them.
All of them?
Yeah.
Okay, 'cause
They're really more directional in nature rather than, this one panel being per carrier. So,
okay. Well, that's what I want to know, because I know that the FCC says that if you have more than one unit, meaning if you have more than one customer like T-Mobile, you have to give us the names of each of those.
yes, and if we do add another carrier on there, it would be a co-location facility, and we'd have to do a modification to the CUP at that point.
Good, okay. I just want to make sure that that was understood. Is there a reason why we don't have, some type of information that talks about frequencies. I noticed that we actually do state in here that in our narrative, the city code does not regulate, let's say, radio frequencies. Is there a reason why we don't? Because I think it falls back to what Cheryl was talking about, if the frequencies are so high, and the hospital is right down the street, would that interfere, or how does that work? I'm not really sure, but I'd like some information.
Yes, if you go back to page 13 of your staff report, I believe T-Mobile has completed a radio frequency emission report. And this was part of the report. Elaborate on this?
The question is referring to actually potential harmful side effects of RF frequencies. And, according to the Federal Communications Commission, they recently stated that they've basically done studies on it and said that, there's no negative effects on it. With regards to any interference with hospital medical equipment, there basically is none. We were actually exploring a hospital as a possible site to put it on the roof, but we just weren't able to get enough height out of it based on that. I'm not sure if that's the answer you were looking for, or...
How powerful is it?
Well, I'm not an engineer per se, but it's powerful enough to, make sure that we get the kind of coverage that we need. If you're worried about, any harmful effects due to the RF frequencies, I know there was a report that came out from the World Health Organization a little while ago, and basically that only refers to cell phones themselves. As a matter of fact, the radiation that you get from a cell phone is within the same class as coffee and talcum powder. In addition, we're not putting up cell phone, but we're putting up cell phone towers, and really the key factor is the proximity that you hold it to your ear. And this antenna is going to be 65 feet up in the air, or 60 feet up in the air, so it's going to be a non-issue, basically.
Okay, thanks a lot, sir.
No problem.
I'd just like to make sure that when you construct the wall, that you buy a lot of extra gallons of matching paint. So that
Matching
we
paint.
can readily paint over the graffiti with the same color.
I'll make sure I make a
Okay?
note of that.
Thank you.
Any additional questions from council? I'll close any additional public input on this? I'll close the public hearing. Is there a motion, is there a desire from the council to state a motion?
I move for approval of resolution number 11-121, resolution of City Council of the City of El Centro approving conditional use permit number 11-02 to allow the construction of a 65-foot wireless telecommunications monopole tower designed as an artificial palm tree monopole on property located at 2015 Cottonwood Circle, further identified by EPN 052-225-034.
Second.
Moved by Walker, second by Solomon. Please ballot.
Okay. Can I just have clarification on that one condition? Did you want to make a change or no change? No change.
He's just going to buy extra paint.
Okay. Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, item number 9, public hearing to consider the vacation of a portion of Dannenberg Avenue as the entrance to Imperial Valley Commons under and pursuant to Division 8, Part 3, Chapter 3 of the Streets and Highway Code, Section 8320. We have a presentation by our Director of Public Works.
Yes, staff would like to pull that, bring that back on September 6th. It will not impact the Kohl's opening. The sign's already up on Dannenberg there.
Okay, very well.
Have we been in touch with the Kohl's representatives?
I was in touch with Ken Whitler today, CBL, on this.
Okay, so those come back, when will this come back, Terry?
September 6th.
September 6th, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 10, Public hearing to solicit public input on the City of El Centro's Community Development Block Grant Program Draft Consolidated Annual Performance Evaluation Report for fiscal year 2010-2011. Presentation by our Director of Economic Development.
Yes, good evening, honorable council members. The item before you is consideration for the Consolidated Annual Performance Evaluation Report, which in essence is an accomplishment report that we have to submit on an annual basis to the Department of Housing and Urban Development for the CDBG funds that we receive from them. I provided an updated executive summary, which is part of the report that you received. And basically, it's the first pages of the report, and I'll be providing you with the accomplishments based off of this updated executive summary that was just distributed to you tonight. I would like to clarify that in the council summary report, we indicate that the public comment period was from July 15th through August 1st. However, I would like for clarification that tonight we will open the 15-day public comment period. Therefore, our public comment period will end on August the 17th, and we'll be publishing a new ad to indicate this to the public. So I wanted to clarify that. For the program year 2010, which basically encompasses July 1st, 2010 to June 30th of 2011, we had available to us the CDBG allocation for 2010, and I'm basing it off of the executive summary that we passed out. We had $726,071 that we received from HUD. We had available to us in CDBG program income, this is from previous grants which we're receiving program income, $188,000, and then we had reprogram funds which we basically are CDBG funds that were left from the previous fiscal year in the amount of $80,307. So the total CDBG funds that we had available to us during this 2010 program year was $994,378. With these funds, what we were able to accomplish, and we have it broken down by housing, public services, and interim assistance, public facilities, and infrastructure. In the area of housing, we budgeted $5,000 for lead-based abatement services. We ended up spending $4,900, and we were able to assist 4 homeowners. Under our housing rehab program, we allocated $200,000, and we were able to spend $547, and we were able to make 2 loans. Under the category of public services, we provided $42,000 for fair housing. We actually ended up expending $30,476, and we were able to provide fair housing services to 211 individuals. We provided the $20,000 contribution to the House of Hope to support their emergency shelter, and they were actually able to expend $16,955, and they were able to assist 57 clients. Under the senior nutrition, which is a program that Catholic Charities runs, they were able to provide meals to 107 seniors. They received $15,300, and they fully expended their allocation. The Center for Family Solutions, they received $20,000 for their, again, emergency shelter, and they were able to assist 57 families. IVROP, they were allocated $5,630. However, they ended up expending only $1,133 for a income tax preparation course that they offered. On page 2, we provided $10,113 to PAL for a computer learning center that they established at their site, and they ended up expending $8,485. We provided interim assistance. As you may recall, we created a new program as a result of the earthquake, and we were able to expend $61,940 out of the $100,000 that we budgeted, and we provided food vouchers and hotel assistance to families. Under the category of public facilities and infrastructure, we set aside $426,335. We actually expended under this fiscal year $386,673 for sidewalk improvements throughout the city. And then under planning and administration, which basically is for salaries and any other meetings, travel associated with the administration of the CDBG program, we budgeted 80,000. However, we ended up expending only 29,590. So these are our expenses and our accomplishments for the fiscal year of 2010, ending on June 30th of 2011. This, in essence, summarizes, again, the report. In the report that was provided to you, there's other reports that are required by HUD, but in essence, this basically demonstrates our accomplishments. Therefore, if there's any questions related to my presentation, I'll be happy to answer those. Otherwise, you may open the public hearing.
Marcela, on the, under this grant, the money that is unspent carries over?
Yes,
following year,
as a matter of
correct?
fact, any funds that are remaining from any of these programs or projects, we actually reprogram when we come back and do our annual action plan. So that's why you see the 80,000 on reprogram funds is money that's left over that we don't expect.
Okay, thank you. Questions for staff?
Speaker, I just want to ask you a question. I was looking at our response to the self-evaluation, or our comments. And I notice under the sports pavilion at Adams Park that we've now pushed that back to August of 2012 for completion date. I don't recall that coming to the council. I was under the impression we were looking at the end of this year, or by the latest, the first quarter of 2012. Now we're into August, so I don't know who can explain that.
Basically, it's based off of the project timeline that we have received. Right now, our consulting firm that's working on the design is working on the construction documents. We're pushing them very, very hard so that we can try to complete the project ahead of schedule. As you know, we have experienced some delays with this project. And it's just, you know, the timing of certain activities within that project. But yes, we're pushing to try to get it done sooner than that.
Okay, well, I would hope that at some point we're going to get an update as the RDA board or the council.
I believe the
as to
task
what's
force,
gone
the
on.
last item on that was, we were doing that in May, so I'm not sure when it slipped to August. That may be a new update that I have not seen, and none of us have seen it.
And when I do the other presentation on our CDBG program income, I have a slide that
Okay.
talks about the project timeline, but based on information we're getting from the consultant, it seems that maybe that's what the schedule's going to fall to, but again, we're working very hard and pushing them too, so that could be completed sooner.
May I piggyback on that question, Mr. Mayor? And they're giving rationale for the delays as to?
What happened is we had some delays in going back and forth in trying, because of the project budget that we had, in trying to go back and reevaluate the components of the project, so there was some back and forth that took place. And so it seems that now we have a workable design, and so they're moving to the construction phase of preparing the bid documents.
Any other questions? Okay, I'd like to open the public hearing. Any member of the audience that wishes to provide testimony on this item? See none, I'll close the public hearing. Additional questions, comments? Motion?
Well, I thought this was just a draft report. So what we're giving you authorization
What was
to do is
last
move
time?
forward with finalization? Is that?
What we're doing is you're approving basically the draft report. As I indicated, we are going to make some revisions to the report that you have before you, and we are opening the public comment period, so we can allow the public the opportunity to provide any comments to us during this public comment period, which is going to start today and end August the 17th.
Okay, well then I think we need to include that in the motion. So
So will this come back to us later as a final then?
We typically, what we do is, because we have that 15-day comment period, if there's any substantial comments that we receive from the public, then we come back and inform you of those comments and give you the final report.
Okay. But if there is no,
And if it's pretty
Public
much,
comments.
then what we have here is what we go with.
and
With
there
the
wouldn't
draft.
be a need to come back to the council
That's
if the
correct.
report hasn't changed?
That's correct.
So if we were to insert the word draft in the resolution, would that still suffice your purpose?
For its purpose, as far as submittal, yes. What HUD is concerned about is that we have the public hearing and that we open up the public comment period, which is the 15-day. We may, if you desire, we can come back and give you the copy of the final report, if that is what you would like for us to do.
Have we done that sorry, Mr. Mayor, if I may, have we done that in the past?
No, we've done it with our annual action plan, because there's been changes once we open the public comment period, but with our performance report, there hasn't been a need to.
Ms. Walker?
Well, I just need clarification. The recommendation on the agenda says that we're approving the consolidated annual performance and evaluation report, but we're not. We're actually approving the draft report because we haven't seen the final report yet. So is that?
That's correct.
So are we okay if we're approving the draft consolidated annual?
Yes, we can say that it's draft,
But I thought this
not a
was
problem.
full report.
But it's still in draft
It's-
form because it's subject to review
And
and
based upon the public
revision.
comment period that's available.
No, I get that, but I thought, I hear you say that if,
In essence, okay, what we have to do is we have to provide the public what we call a draft report. Given that you have a public comment period, what you want to make sure that you indicate to the public is that they have an opportunity to comment. And so we say draft report, should we receive, comments from the public questioning any of the information within the report, then there would be a need, obviously, to make changes. And so we would incorporate those, and then we would have, I guess, the final report. And so that's why when we first start the public comment period, we say draft.
but if we were to change the resolution to say, to read, approving the draft consolidated annual performance and evaluation report, are you going to have a need to come back to the council next time after the 15-day window and get a final report approved, or would this approval suffice?
I believe that it would be sufficient for us to submit it to HUD.
Okay.
And again, only because what we're doing is we're triggering the 15-day comment period. And, they recognize that we're starting it off with a draft report.
Anybody else? Mr. Solomon?
No, just hold it.
Want to make a motion?
I'll move for approval. Oh, go ahead, Ben.
Okay. Approval of resolution number
122?
122, resolution of the City Council of the City of El Centro approving the draft consolidated annual performance and evaluation report 2010 as part of the end of the year requirements report provided to the Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, under the entitlement grant program.
Second.
Moved by Solomon, second by Walker. Please ballot.
Before you vote, just clarify, can we also amend Section 2 of the resolution to reflect the draft report and that it would be subject to the public comment period? If we could add that to the
Is that
Section 2.
agreeable to both?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Please ballot.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, item 11, public hearing.
I have a question for City Attorney. I believe that part of the funding on this is coming in the form of a loan from Rabobank. So would that preclude me from participating in item number 11?
Mayor, if I may clarify, what we asked for item number 11 is if you can open the public hearing, however, if you can postpone it to the September 6th council meeting, we would ask that you make that accommodation as it relates to this item, number 11.
And am I correct that that was at the request of the
At the request
applicant?
of the developer,
developer.
the applicant.
Okay, separately, before you take action, though, we need to determine if Rabobank is providing financing on
Yes,
the
they are.
project.
Two, they are.
Right, so therefore, you should probably abstain on the item.
Be short.
Did you call me short? Or you said
It'll be short.
Oh, okay.
I wouldn't do that, sir.
So we're opening the public hearing, then
Okay,
continuing?
so we're going to open the public hearing on item 11 to consider the approval of issuance of the California Municipal Finance Authority of tax exempt bonds in the amount not to exceed $9,600,000 for the purpose of financing of the acquisition, construction, and development of a 72-unit multifamily housing residential project to be located on the northeast corner of North A Street and future Bradshaw Avenue, commonly known as the El Centro Family Apartments. Is there any member of the public that wishes to provide testimony on this matter? Seeing none, do I close the public hearing, or do we continue this?
Probably best to have a motion to continue it.
Okay, is there a motion from the council to continue this to what date, Marcela?
September 6th.
To September 6th? Moved by Solomon,
Second.
second by Sanders. Please ballot.
Let me try and get there.
That motion carries 4-0.
Item number 12, public hearing to consider the submittal of the annual grantee performance reports for grant number 09 STBG 6394 during the period of July 1 to 2010 and June 30, 2011, under the State of California Department of Housing and Community Development. Solicit public input on the submittal of the city's annual performance report for the CDBG program income, and solicit public input for the city's proposed future use of Colonia funding under the Community Development Block Grant Program. Submittal of the annual grantee performance report for the CDBG grant number 09 STBG 6394 and the city's annual performance report for the CDBG program income. Presentation by our Director of Economic Development.
Yes, and I do have a PowerPoint presentation to report on our accomplishments. Again, this is part of our requirement for the grant that we have with the Department of Housing and Community Development, and also the program income that we have received from grants they have awarded to us. This is for the period of July 1st, 2010 to June 30th of 2011, and I did pass out a copy of this presentation. And I also provided an updated copy of the annual program income report, and that was provided to you by our city clerk. And the specific changes that were made were on Section 5 and Section 6 of that report. For grant number 09 STBG 6394, this was a grant that we received under the Colonia's allocation from HCD in 2010 in the amount of $800,000. The purpose of this grant is for the city to complete Phase 4 of the El Dorado Colonia project, which in essence is to install a storm drain to service the Colonia area east of 8th Street and north of Pico. As of June 30th of this year, we have expended $12,962. We're currently working with the state to clear our special conditions to this grant. The grant expires on December 31st of 2012. The estimated cost to complete Phase 4 is $953,388. With these improvements, we would be benefiting 432 households.
The shortfall in the project cost is going to be made up how?
We actually, when we submitted the application, we committed local city funds for this project, and those have been already budgeted and committed.
So the additional 153,000 shortfall is already?
Yes, that's correct. Here with this slide, what we're doing is we're summarizing the different phases that have been committed within the Colonia area. We had Phase 1, which was the El Dorado 12th Street street improvements for $2 million. We had Phase 2, which was Pico, almost $4 million of street improvements. Phase 3 just recently completed those improvements along 8th Street for $1.6 million. Phase 4, which is the drainage improvements that we'll be doing, again, are based on our estimate, $953,388. And then, of course, we have our future phases of improvements that we need to do, and I'll go over what we have identified as preliminary needs within this area in a later slide. Basically, this shows our plan for the Phase 4, which is the drainage improvements. Right now, we are completing the environmental review part of this new phase, and we're going to be procuring an engineer to start with the preliminary engineering of this plan. The schedule that we have for the Colonia Phase 4, right now we're basically procuring our right-of-way consultant. We believe that there might be a need to obtain right-of-way in order to accommodate the drainage plan. So that's a service that we're going to be procuring. We have our environmental consultant already on board, which has completed the environmental review, and we're going to start the RFP process for the engineering this month. We hope to have a right-of-way acquisition, preliminary engineering, design completed by September. Hope to start construction by July of 2012 and end construction by November 2012, which would be within the grant period. Based on a preliminary review that our engineering department has done, and again, these are the streets that are still pending improvements within the Colonia area, is we are in need of curb, gutter, and drainage, sidewalk, roadway reconstruction, street lighting. Based obviously on current dollars, we anticipate that we need an additional $3 million to do improvements to this area. This presentation also gives us an opportunity to inform the public and also seek input on future use of Colonia dollars. And so we wanted to make sure that we took this opportunity to indicate what our current needs are at within this area. As far as our state program income fund, again, this is a revenue that we receive from payments that we're receiving from under our first-time homebuyer program, also our housing rehab program, and of course, interest that's earned within this fund. During this fiscal year, we received $104,916. Of course, finance is still is going to be posting their the revenue for June, so this is based off of information that we had available to us when the report was prepared. The actual expenditures within this fiscal year for the sports pavilion, of course, that's our current project that we're working on, $193,910. Phase 4 of the El Dorado Colonia, as I indicated, we currently are in the environmental phase of the project, so we haven't expended any funds from our state program income. Our sidewalk, we have completed sidewalk improvements. We expended $125,475. Fair housing, this is an activity that we also fund from our state program income. We expended $13,200, and then we used a portion of these funds for the emergency earthquake assistance, and we expended $35,907. So total expenditures under our program income was $368,492. This is just a summary of the commitments of our CDBG activities. It's important for us to prove to the state or indicate to the state that we are committing our program income. And so what this provides is a summary of those projects, programs that we're funding. And as you may recall, the way in which we commit these funds is when we present to you our annual action plan that we submit on an annual basis to HUD is when we allocate these funds. And so what this table does, it summarizes those projects that are being funded through the state program income, which is the sports pavilion, the El Dorado Colonia, fair housing, sidewalk improvements. We actually broke down the sidewalk improvements into 2 phases, and so we're getting ready to start phase 2 of the improvements. And then, of course, we set aside funds for the earthquake assistance. So total committed, $934,200. We have expended $451,157, and we have a remaining balance of $483,43. The actual balance that we have in this state program income, it seems that the state, before, they were very concerned if we had excess funds in our state program income. It seems that now they're relaxing that requirement, but for us, it's still important to see, obviously, the activity within this fund. And so what we have here, action plan cycle in order to commit those funds. Here's a schedule of the sports pavilion project. Right now, as I indicated, we're currently in the design, we're currently designing the project. Obviously, we did our design award on August of 2010. We completed the parking lot November of 2010. Currently in the design construction document phase of it. Again, the consultant is working on that. We hope to have those completed in September. And the construction phase would be from 2011 to August 2012. And we're pushing very hard to hopefully complete this project sooner than what you see here. For the sidewalks, again, I shared with you that we basically separated out this project in two phases. One, to be able to satisfy our expenditure requirements with HUD, also with ACD, because we have program income funds allocated. We're getting ready to start with phase two. We have completed phase one, and so currently working with engineering to complete phase two of our sidewalk improvements. And the last slide here, which shows the accomplishments that we were able to do with our emergency earthquake assistance. As you know, we set aside funds for this program. We were able to assist 20 families with this program, and we issued food vouchers and also assisted with temporary hotel assistance. And so this, in essence, summarizes the activities performance for the Colonia grant and also the program income fund that we have under CDBG. If there's any questions related to this presentation, be happy to answer that.
Thank you, Marcela. Questions for staff?
Yeah, I have two questions. Ms. Piedra, the unexpended emergency earthquake assistance, I think we have about $38,000 remaining. How will that be reprogrammed?
Basically, as I indicated, when we come back to you, when we have a balance in this account, what we do is we reprogram those funds for other projects and programs that are eligible when we go through the annual action planning cycle for the CDBG program through HUD. And so what we have is, as I pointed out, that remaining balance. And so at that time is when we set aside any funds for any eligible activity.
Okay, so that's when we're going to determine.
Yes,
where
that's when you
gonna
have
go.
an opportunity.
That's not part of this report.
That's correct.
Okay.
This
So
is
that-
simply what it is just showing you the performance and accomplishments for this.
So preview of coming attractions
That is correct.
is we'll be able to reprogram.
Yes.
Okay. My second question has to do with the projected future phases. Future phase, I guess it would be future phase 5. I don't see the northern extension of 7th Street included north of Lincoln. Isn't there just a little sliver of 7th Street that? If I look at this here, it
Yes.
looks like there's a little sliver of 7th Street that's not included. Right there.
Oh, okay.
Perfect.
This
Yes.
area here?
Yes.
That's correct.
Is there a reason that's not included?
Good afternoon. The image is incorrect. That portion of 7th Street is non-existent. It's a private easement or private property.
Is it maintained at all by the local, whoever has access to that, or no?
It goes to a lot that's further up north. Without that access, the lot would be landlocked. So it's private.
Okay, is it marked private? I mean, is there a,
Our records and county records indicate it's a private property.
okay, very good, thank you.
Any other questions? No? Ms.
I
Reddy?
just have a quick question, if I may, Mr. Mayor. Mrs. Badler, back to the the assistance during the earthquake, that was for how many months?
Basically, that was for the, it covered this fiscal year. We actually started the program in May, when we actually created the program, so we were able basically to assist until the last family had their mobile home
Was
repaired.
able to get back into
Yes.
their home?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Thank you.
Any additional questions? Mr. Shalom? Ms. Reddy? Okay. Thank you. Did I open the public hearing and close that too? Is there a council ready for?
You open it?
I did? Okay, let me do it again for the record. Any member of the public that wishes to provide testimony on this matter? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Council action?
We need to adopt a recommendation, adopt a resolution.
No.
Is that right?
No.
No?
No.
Just
no
move.
There's no additional action to be taken?
Basically, just request approval to submit the annual grantee performance report for the grant and also for the program income report before you.
Okay, is there a motion for that submittal?
Move staff's approval. I mean,
Moved by-
staff's
moved by
recommendation.
Sanders, second by Solomon, please ballot.
Thank you.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, item 13, discussion and any necessary action regarding the submittal of an application for funding consideration for program year 2011 to the State of California Department of Housing and Community Development for funding under the Home Investment Partnership Program. Presentation by Director of Economic Development.
Yes, the application before you is for $500,000 so that the city may continue funding its owner-occupied housing rehab program. The state has issued a notice of funding availability under its home program, and we have the opportunity to apply for funding. This is part of the funding that we use to provide assistance to owner-occupied families that are in need of doing housing rehabilitation to their homes. The grant application, the eligible jurisdictions can apply for up to $700,000. However, we are asking for $500,000, which would give us the ability to assist anywhere from 7 to 8 families. What we're averaging as far as housing rehab projects is about $70,000, and so based on our estimates, it seems that we can provide assistance to 7 to 8 families. The application is due on August the 16th. There is the forms, of course, staff is preparing the application and providing the necessary attachments to the application, but at this time, what we're asking for is to consider adopting the resolution to allow us to submit this application to the state. We hope that by the end of the year, we would receive notification as to whether or not we received the grant. Of course, we're going to be competing with other cities, other counties that are eligible, but we hope that that we're able to succeed in getting these funds. What I did also provide, in light of some questions that were received due to funding that has been returned to the state in the past, is I did provide to you a report or PowerPoint presentation, and if there's certain aspects of that presentation that you would like for me to cover, we can certainly do that. But just to show you the accomplishments and the funding that we've had available to us in the past 5 years and the projects that have been completed in the past 5 years from under our housing rehab program, and maybe also some of the reasons why we've had some issues in not assisting that many families as we wish we could. And so I provide that as backup to you, but in essence what we're asking for is approval for this application to be submitted to the state.
Thank you, Marcela. Comments from council?
Ms. Bader, the fact that we had to return was at $300,000, so almost 60% of the last grant. Does that somehow impact our eligibility, or does it negatively affect this application cycle?
Actually, if I may share, we are not the only city that has had a need to return funds to the state. As a matter of fact, in one of the slides, we indicate right now there's discussions with the state, with the home representatives, to consider some flexibility in the home program. Right now, the home program provides strictly loans. We are to provide loans to families. However, they're aware that there's issues with families qualifying for this program. What we see is that some families have basically overextended themselves and have they have equity issues with their homes. And so even though they have a need to rehab their home, the value of the home is not there when they're trying to get financing from us. And so that has created some issues. So that has been expressed to HCD. And so they're holding conversations with cities. We're going to be participating in a call with them next week, as a matter of fact, to indicate that we're supportive of any flexibility they can give us with the program to see if we can assist more families. As I pointed out, we haven't been the only city that has returned monies, and it's basically also due to the economy. Some families, they're afraid of getting any assistance. Some have title issues, and so that creates some obstacles for us as far as the program is concerned. What I do want to point out is on that handout that I gave you on page 2, if you can see, we had in program income under home about the same amount of funds available to us as we did in the grant. And so the way it works with the state is any program income that you have available to you, you have to basically expend your home program income first before you ask for any reimbursement from your grant. And so, I mean, we were fortunate that we had $482,383 in program income, but we were using those funds. And of course, with completing projects, it takes time. And so we wish we could have withdrew these funds faster than we did. And so that's why we had a need to return those funds to the state.
Ms. Piedra, I applaud the staff on this program, but I guess I'm concerned, and I won't vote no, because I guess you're going to try, but this is not a very effective program, not because of the work that your staff does, because this is a crappy program from the state. Well, I mean, you know, I'm sorry, but you're light coding it. Extremely low housing market values due to current foreclosures. I mean, we're talking about rehabbing existing product that is significantly older, correct?
That's correct.
We're not likely to go rehab a 7-year-old house.
Yes,
So
correct.
the market for a 35-year-old house in 2006 was $225,000. Today, it's about $72,000. So using the example in here where we might provide an average of $70,000.
That's correct.
And of course, we know the reason why it's $70,000 is because use of these funds requires prevailing wage.
No, in this case, we're exempt.
It's exempt.
Under the housing rehab, it's exempt. So at least we have that exemption.
So, but we're not going to, okay, fair enough, but you're not going to go, and of course, you have to follow every dot, every T, every I, and to get somebody approved can take a very long time, not because your staff's not doing it, because you got to get all the proper paperwork, and because of this. But you're not going to go improve a house that's valued at $70,000 with a $50,000 or $60,000 loan. It doesn't. I mean, you're not going to take and I don't care what area of town. You're not going to take a house that's $70,000 in the neighborhood, add $70,000 to it, because the house didn't just go up to $125,000 because it's never going to market at that. So, I mean, you know, I hope, and I'll vote for your program, but I can tell you, we will send this money back if they don't modify the program. Because there's no way ever since I've been on this council, we've had this program every year. We've done the best we can, and every single time we've had to try to modify the program with no flexibility
That's
from the
correct.
state to do anything that could actually help a poor family trying to hold on to their home and trying to get the air conditioner work and the doors closed. They don't care about that. They only care about, we put the money out. Now, we've put back $1.5 million, right?
As far as returning the funds,
How much do you think the cities have turned back? What's your estimate?
I would probably
Millions.
say probably about the same amount.
But,
that
I
we
mean,
have.
all the cities.
Overall, yes.
Millions. So the program's not working. But will they fix it?
They're going to try.
I would hope.
Okay, we'll, Ms. Sanders, always the optimist, but you will agree with me that we've been trying to get them to fix this program for at least 8 years.
We've shared our concerns, and they know the reasons why we have had a need to return money, and that's why I guess we're excited that they're open to that discussion, and again, now it's not just El Centro that has this issue, it's other cities. And so it seems like they're willing to do they're willing to do flexibility in the program with a combination of grant, loan, and so that's good. At least we're having that
The last comment
conversation.
I'll make, Ms. Piedra, is and this is the most significant issue, if they will not bend on the homeowner's equity issue, you will not help anybody. I mean,
That's been the toughest issue.
I mean,
You're
these
correct
people
on that.
who are struggling to keep their home, it's because they have a mortgage that is
Higher than the value.
much higher than the value.
Oh, absolutely.
So we're not talking about 105% of the value. We're
No,
talking
we're-
that the mortgage may be as high as 120, 130,
Yes.
140%.
That is correct.
So if there's not flexible in that, I just think, unfortunately, it will just sit there, and then Ms. Walker will get a little upset.
Next year, I can complain again that we're returning money.
Any additional questions, comments? Is there a motion for adoption of Resolution 123, approving the submittal of the 2011 Home Investment Partnership Program application?
So moved.
Moved by
Second.
Walker, second by Sanders, please ballot.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, item 14, discussion and necessary action regarding the determining to comply with the voluntary alternative redevelopment program pursuant to Part 1.9 of Division 24 of the California Health and Safety Code in order to permit the continued existence and operation of the redevelopment agency of the city of El Centro. Somewhere on the backup, I read the word extortion again.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I want to know, I like the word
Voluntary
voluntary, but if you don't, you lose it.
It's voluntary.
Ms. Piedra.
Yes, Mayor, as you pointed out, the item before you is the actual ordinance to have the city of El Centro participate in the voluntary alternative redevelopment program that has been
Extorted.
voluntary, that has been established based on the adoption of AB 27. This is an ordinance that the city is in need of adopting in order for the redevelopment agency to continue existing and operating. As of yesterday, we actually did receive the amount of the payment for the city of El Centro for fiscal year 2011-12, and that amount is $2,506,272. This payment, of course, is going to be made in two payments, the first one being due on January the 15th, and the second payment being due on May the 15th. And I'm going to be later on presenting our budget, and that amount has been budgeted. Our Department of Finance had anticipated about a $2.5 million payment, and so that it is included in there. However, we have the opportunity, and we will appeal this amount. As you know, we have issued several bonds. Therefore, our debt service has significantly increased from the calculation that the Department of Finance actually calculated this amount. They're basing it off of data that they had available to them back in 2008, 2009. And so things have changed for our redevelopment agency since that time. Therefore, there's the need to adopt this ordinance in order for us to continue operating. I believe this would be the introduction of the ordinance and then having a second reading in a special meeting that we will hold. It is the city's intent to have this ordinance adopted by August the 28th.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Pedro. Comments?
So from a timing perspective,
Woe is
it'll come
me.
back to our special meeting next Monday?
That is correct, for a second reading.
I think we've had some full discussions on this voluntary payment being asked from the state. So any additional comments from the council?
I think, Mr. Mayor, I think it's really important to point out, and I think you did an excellent job presenting it, but just in the language as you see here, voluntary, we've already discussed that, but it's to permit your continued existence. So, I think it's important, and I don't know that we've done a good job as city council members or cities in general getting this to the public. Because I can't believe, I would be dumbfounded to believe that the public, not just in El Centro, but across the state, believes this is the way they want their state government to operate, which is, you think the word extort is fine, but think what they said. You either send this money to us, and $2.5 million is just one city. You either send this to money, or you lose the ability to provide programs of benefit to your community. I don't think that the community would expect that to be the way their state operates. Maybe they do.
If I may, to echo Mr. Edney's comments, my optimism has waned quite a bit on this issue because I was very optimistic up until the veto by the governor and then until he could get this extraction from the cities. You're right, I don't think the public would appreciate this. I believe the public is not well informed, and perhaps shame on us. I don't think they have a clear understanding of the impact this will have, not only for El Centro, but the cities within this region. And as we look at what's happening, and we hear the chamber say economic development, and they want to do all of this, this is absolutely a restriction of what we're going to be able to do. This is really going to tie our hands on our ability. And if we continue this, and I anticipate we will have to continue this for the unforeseeable future, but that doesn't mean we're not going to fight the good fight. How successful we'll be remains to be seen, but
Do we have an update? I know that there's been a response to the state's response.
for the battle that we're doing with the
That's
lawsuit.
pending with the California Supreme Court. So the challenge was filed by the League of Cities, the state has filed its reply. League has then filed its reply to their response, and now we're just in a holding pattern?
Well, the key that the
It's going
state
to the
provided
Supreme
was
Court.
that it hasn't gone through the court system,
That's
so the
right.
Supreme Court has no jurisdiction.
Yeah.
I thought they agreed to the,
Well,
I thought they
that was
agreed
the,
to
that
the
was the
Supreme Court.
intent. That was the intent, was to try and move beyond the appellate court and go straight to the Supreme Court with the.
But I thought the state agreed to that.
Well, the state didn't agree to anything, unfortunately. You mean the state?
No, I
like-
mean in their filing. I thought they agreed that it was okay
Cate-
for the
define
California
state.
Supreme Court.
Define the state. You mean the league and the
No, no, no.
California? You mean the governor and the legislative
Yes.
body? Oh, I don't think so.
No, they actually, if I understand
They're
correctly, they
challenging it.
challenged
They're
it,
challenging.
that the Supreme Court
Yeah.
can't rule
Yes.
or
They
issue
challenged
any injunction because it hasn't followed the due process of the court system.
My,
That's
my
what they
my
challenged.
reading of this is, because it's all unfolding in the last few days, is that they believe that there is no basis for a stay.
Right. But
And
that's
but the,
different
but the
than
Supreme,
challenging the
but so,
jurisdiction.
so the Supreme Court needs to determine, one is, will a stay be allowed? And if a stay is allowed, well, then much of what we're doing stops. If it's not, everything else continues on for the full hearing. And so we have multiple things running. So you're both right.
Well, I think one final point to make is that and Ms. Piedra put it in her thing, and I think the concern is not only this loss of 2.5, not only the loss of 600,000, potentially, but we recognize that once the state sees this as a revenue source, whenever the state gets into problems, and if they win, it's not that we've obviously at least given at least the credit of they found a way for us to keep it open. But the fact of the matter is we know that whether it's 2013, 2014, they'll come and say, well, hey, we got 600,000 from El Centro last year. Why can't we get 800,000? And so they can effectively in the RDAs, even though they didn't get the legislation to completely eliminate them, by just bleeding you completely dry. And I mean, look,
That's the
they have
intent,
a 30-year record of
unfortunately.
doing just that
I-
whenever they
I,
find a place to steal the money.
I think so. It started with our property tax. It started with BLF, started with junta or highway transportation monies. And so every segment or pool of funds that had normally been designated for local government have really been tapped into very heavily. And we're really between a rock and a hard place. We really are.
Well,
So thank you, Mr.
As it
Mayor.
relates to this action particularly, I don't know that we have any option but to,
Well, we're going to do it. We're
make
going
that
to hold our
payment.
nose and do it.
Right.
But we're not going to be
so
singing
not,
kumbaya.
we're not doing this happily. So is there a motion to approve ordinance 1109 to declare the city's determination to make payments required under AB 127 in order for the continued existence and operation of the redevelopment agency of the city of El Centro?
So moved.
Moved by Edney, second by Solomon. Please ballot.
This is terrible.
Motion carries 4 with 1 no from Silva.
No, sorry.
It's like, wow, that was out of the blue.
Is that a Freudian slip? A Freudian slip here. Freudian slip.
Too busy holding his nose.
Can we read those?
Oh, want to read? Okay, read ballot.
Mr. Solomon? Okay, the motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. On item 15, the current appointments to the El Centro Regional Medical Center from the council is Mr. Solomon being the voting member of the council and me sitting as an ex officio capacity. And I've done the ex officio role now for about a year and a half or so. So I think that after a year and a half at on-the-job training, I'm ready to move to the next phase. And I asked Mr. Solomon if he minded swapping seats with me, where I would become the voting member of the council on the board, and Mr. Solomon would remain as the ex officio appointment, and he is graciously agreed to do that. So I'd like to ask the council for your consideration and approval for Mr. Solomon and I to swap seats, where I become the voting member of the board, and Mr. Solomon will become the ex-official member of the board.
I think because this was subject to challenge by whoever that attorney was from out of town, I think we need to make it clear that the ordinance provides that,
Well, we had an issue.
Oh, you
do
did?
you
Sometime
remember?
back, yeah.
Oh, sometime
When he
back.
was
Okay.
here, he came here.
Okay, okay.
And challenge that the ordinance provides that if there are two members of the city council that want to be voting members, that's the way we have to do it. So I think we need to agree that none of the rest of us want to be voting members, so you're good to go and
You're it.
you're ex officio, right?
So is that a motion?
You need a
Move
motion.
mayor's recommendation.
Second.
Moved by Sanders, second by Walker, please ballot.
Motion carries 5-0.
There's some appointments to the library board, and talking to Mr. Banks, the two existing members have done a good job and feels that are contributing members of the board. That would be Sharon Slovak and Adrian Perez. So I think continuity in these difficult times is important, so I like to recommend to the council to reappoint the two individuals currently seated.
So moved.
Moved by Walker, second by Solomon, please ballot.
Motion carries 5-0.
And on the personnel appeals board, we do have one application by Peter Martinez, who I know and I think he will do a good job serving on the personnel appeals board, so I'd like to ask your consideration for appointment for Mr. Martinez.
Move approval.
Moved by Sanders, second by Solomon, please ballot.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay. Public comments. Any member of the public wishes to provide testimony on items that were not discussed today? Seeing none, I'll call the public hearing. The public comments, I'm sorry. Council member reports. Mr. Solomon, maybe? Ms. Sanders?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I was very happy to go in your stead over to the mall for the consulate's launching of their program for women and children. I was quite pleased with what I saw. It was quite a large gathering, and the venue was very special. There was a lot of activity going on, and they have activities that will embrace issues that affect women, healthcare issues that affect women and young ladies. So thank you for giving me the
Thank you,
opportunity.
Ms. Sanders, I had to leave out of town and I was not able to make that meeting. Mr. Edney?
Nothing.
Ms. Walker?
Appreciate staff and council participation in the SCAG Regional Transportation Plan Workshop and the outreach that was done a week ago Wednesday when SCAG staff came down and provided I thought, an excellent
good.
opportunity for us to get together with a bunch of different stakeholders, and I think it was very, very worthwhile. The information that was gathered that will go into the ultimate regional transportation plan presented for consideration.
Thank you. The only thing that I'd like to remind the council to, we won't meet again for a regular meeting until first meeting in September. So just to remind you of the September 17th event that we'll be hosting with the Mexican consulate at Starkville for Mexican Independence Day. And we just signed the group that will be performing that day. And I tell you what, it's going to be a really nice event with a lot of people there.
I have one question. The water tank on Mabursary, is it going to stay that blue color, or was that just a primer?
That's the color.
That's the color.
color. You like that?
Looks like a...
It's bright.
I think it's a mixed bag.
It's bright. Maybe we could get somebody to paint some.
The process in
something on it.
Colorado, I was involved in the process, was we were trying to find something that when the people look up who live behind it, we try to match the sky as much as possible.
Oh, there you go.
That's what we were
Okay.
about. We were trying to make it go away.
All right, and it's.
That was the reason. That's the color.
It's in use, it's,
I think they're coming up here very shortly. They're decontaminating it.
we're going to have a ribbon cutting, right?
We're mostly going to put water in and get the pumps running.
All right.
The other thing that I wanted to mention, I don't receive my mail in the post office, but I went to the post office a few days ago, and I saw the condition of the landscaping there, which is absolutely deplorable. And I know that the post office is having some financial difficulties, but can we send a letter or something asking that it is really
The
an
federal government,
eyesore?
you're gonna tell them.
It's been completely abandoned,
It's an ongoing issue for
That-
us, but
yeah,
yes, we'll do it
the-
again.
I would really like the council to talk about getting a community enhancement task force together again, because I think we need to recognize that not only the bad, but the good. Bank of America has done a phenomenal job
They have.
with their landscaping, especially along Broadway. It just looks, don't tell your wife I'm saying this, but it looks phenomenal. And I think that they should be recognized as well. And I think those are the kinds of things that if we went with a community enhancement task force, we can start talking about code enforcement
Maybe we can give a
and,
certificate for those most improved.
exactly.
And an alert to those that are just abandoned. It was pretty sad to see the condition of the landscaping there. I don't know if you've
Well,
seen it.
and the Arco Station too, on Imperial and Main Street. Every once in a while, it looks okay, and then everything dies, and they pull out the stumps, and I think right now, there's nothing there.
Okay, we're going to come back, finish closed session, and also we are adjourning this meeting to Monday, the 8th at 12 o'clock.
Are you going to adjourn, or are you going to recess for closed session?
We're going to recess for closed session,
You're
Yeah,
going to do
redevelopment.
and
RDA?
then we,
Want to take a 5-minute break, and then we'll do RDA.
you want to take a 5-minute break?
Yeah, do
Okay,
RDA.
let's do a 5-minute break, and then do RDA, yes.